Good morning.
Good
So,
morning.
I was just frantically texting my counterparts of the film because I'm like, "There's no Lynn. We have to go. It's live." So glad you made it.
Here.
I'm just putting them all off the hook right now.
Right.
All good. Okay. So, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have this weird echo that I don't know if it's because I'm wearing a second headset or what's happening, but it's so loud. Anyway,
If I put on my headphones.
no, you're good. I'm talking about me because I'm trying to do all the tech while we talk.
Right. Okay. Okay. Well, let me know if I need to go into the silence.
Welcome to the people of the Facebooks and the YouTubes, music lovers, film lovers. We are here with Lyn Alicia Henderson, who is our illustrious Josh's mother. She plays Dorothy in our film. And we're very lucky to have her because she has had this insane career of like, I was going through your IMDb and just like, I don't understand why you aren't like in series regular by now because you've been on every show ever.
Right. Right. I know. I've been on a lot of various and sundry shows for sure. Yeah. So
I love it.
I know
that you've done like Seinfeld, Dear White People. You did 150 episodes or something like that of ER.
Yes. Yeah. Friends.
You've been on three of my favorite shows: New Girl, Fresh Prince of Bel Air, and 911.
Right.
But it's funny as I'm like, you've been on all these shows that I watch. I'm like, how come I never go, oh, there's Lyn?
Right. Well, other people do. I get the text like, hey, I was watching this and I saw you. And it's like, yeah. And what's funny is actually like a lot of people's kids will be like, isn't that your friend, Mom? Like they had no idea,
Do you ever get that when you're out in public? Like, oh, you're that girl. You're
that. Or you look like that girl. I definitely look like everybody. Like I regularly get, you look just like Jada Pinkett.
Really?
I
can see like if Jada and Zoe Kravitz had a baby,
that's
their love child.
Right. Yeah. So yeah.
Was there a show that you were ever like this was like you booked a show that was like you were in love with and you were just through the moon? Like,
yes, actually, and it got canceled because I was gonna be like recurring on it, which I did. I recurred 3 times, but then it got canceled. Eli Stone.
Oh, yeah.
I loved that show. I started watching it and loved it. And they're just like, I could totally see myself on that show. I auditioned, I booked it. And, because one of the main characters was pregnant and I played like her, obstetrician. So it was like totally fantastic. It was a very, you got to look pretty show. And, and I totally loved it. I loved everybody on it. And, that was great. And I mean, I think a lot of shows I used to love, like first season of ER, I loved it. And I was like, I've got to get on that show. And I did.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Good morning again to everybody who's just tuning in to us, including our lovely executive producer, Summer Walters, who says, hello, ladies. I tried to convince Summer to come join us for this talk, but she was like, no, you let Lyn have the spotlight.
Oh, so sweet. She's so amazing. You all are amazing. So,
really is. So I have for our audience who are here a hidden gem because so as happens in movies often, as we all know, we have to cut scenes that we love for time. And unfortunately, one of my favorite scenes is a scene with you and Josh. It's the end, you guys are at the end. It got cut for time, but I will say if I decide to do a director's cut, it's going back in.
Oh, good.
Lovely scene. But I want to show our audience now, let them get a taste of it. So let's play that.
All right.
You didn't get any sleep again last night, did you? How did this happen? Are you going to be able to play tonight? You put too much pressure on yourself. And you can't go through life holed up in a practice room with no friends. Josh, I get it. But if you are putting yourself through this thinking somehow you're going to save me, it's time to stop. Our lives haven't been champagne and roses. But I wouldn't change a thing.
Always say that. You wouldn't change a thing. Everything about this life sucks.
Watch your tone. When your father and I got married, we were younger than you are now. I thought this was it. I had found me a handsome man, and he and I were going to make art for the rest of our lives. But he was never satisfied. He was always searching, always thinking where we were wasn't where he wanted to be.
So, what changed? And he says he's staying this time.
I'm
Why?
not inviting him back into our lives. He's your father. And technically he's my husband, so I'm giving him a chance. I'd rather do that than shut him out. All right, let's get some ice on this hand. You have a big night tonight. Competition to win, tours to take. Josh, you have to forgive him. You have to forgive him so you don't turn out like him. Never satisfied, always searching, always running.
Oh my
Yay!
I want that. I'm watching that going, no, that has to go. You understand, like, I love that scene so much. It's such a beautiful moment between you and him. And it's really a turning point for him. I hate that, like, we get stuck in this sort of, well, the distributor needs it to be, an hour and a half.
Right. I know. It's
Or
crazy.
can it be as long as the movie needs to be.
Right. No, it is so weird how we get so locked into these times, or this needs to happen by this and this needs to, and it's just like, why really, It's-
Such a beautiful scene. I might try to sneak a piece of that back in. I don't know.
well, look, if it doesn't ever end up in it, I want it.
Well, I'm definitely already going through and putting all my deleted scenes together for the DVD because they're all so lovely. Like I had this whole scene in the apartment that happens at Josh's apartment where like we meet his roommates and we learn about Corinna's album and it all got cut for time. Like it's frustrating.
It is. That's super frustrating, but that is the way it goes. But that's why those DVDs and the director's cut are, great when you get to that next level. Do people still make DVDs? Do they still?
Well, you know what's funny is we almost weren't going to, and then
Right.
I had a long talk with somebody who just does distribution, and they were like, people, people want that thing, they want to hold it, and because I'm like, I guess it makes sense because I still keep Blu-rays on my shelf of my favorite movies, even though I would rather buy it again to watch it
Right.
than to go get the
Right.
DVD.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's why I thought, well, why don't we give a bonus? If people get the DVD, they'll get deleted scenes, they'll get the whole cuts of music, all that fun stuff.
Yeah. I think I like the DVD idea too, just because sometimes your internet doesn't work. Like there have been plenty of times where it's like, oh, we're not getting a good signal or whatever. And you pop in that DVD, it is solid, it is there. There's nothing going to get in the way. And I feel like, with satellites or things that can happen, I think having a DVD is
That's
solid.
true. If
Yeah.
Amazon went away forever and you bought the movie there, bye-bye movie. So
Right.
that makes
Right.
sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, by happenstance, I actually have our writer on standby, and I wanted to bring her into really quick. Summer says, "Oh my goodness, we need that scene."
Aw.
Like the producer says it, then it needs to be there. Oh, and this is my mama. She says that's Dave when he has internet problems. He goes to the DVD.
Yes.
Well, it's hard because I have I've actually made my boyfriend get rid of so much junk, and it was
Right.
like probably 50 DVDs. I'm like, you're never gonna watch these. We'll keep the Star Wars, but everything else goes.
Right. I know it's tempting. I want to, but you know what? I put them in a box and I'm saving them because there've been so many things like that. Like even old VHS tapes. Like if the DVD ever gets all scratchy and it's like that VHS tape rocks. I keep a TV set that still, just takes VHS, and I've got like a lot of tapes on there. And
You know what's funny is going to be like when you have you're like the great grandkids are going to be like, what is this?
right? Totally.
How do you play it?
Right. It's real easy, boo.
But since we had Catherine on standby, I'm going to bring her in. I want to talk about your character with her. So Let's welcome Catherine, our lovely writer.
Hi.
I know Catherine's loving this moment because she
Hi,
hasn't even
Cameron.
filmed yet. So she's getting seen. She's getting to meet Catherine through.
I love that scene. That was so wonderful. It was wonderful.
Well, it was so lovely written. It was so lovelily written.
Oh, thank you. Lyn, it's so nice to meet you. I have to tell you, I was a huge ER fan. I mean, like, I watched the whole thing, and I remember you from ER. So
Hey, head-on collision, chest to steering wheel, head to dash.
But doesn't that mean you can do every single medical show forever? Like you could just live your whole life doing, because new ones come out every year.
Well, the thing is though, a lot of medical shows, like especially for a while, would say we do not want anybody who was on ER on this show. Like,
wow.
Yeah, so that was actually a thing. And I remember booking a hospital show, and I wore a wig so that I did not look like myself. And it was funny because when I booked it, I heard the director talking to, like, one of the producers bragging about how, he definitely didn't want any, ER people on the show. And there I was, like,
I so wish at the end of the episode after it was filmed, you like pulled off your wig.
I did eventually tell him, and he was totally surprised. But you know what? I was in the cut, so.
Summer is saying hello to you as well, Catherine. And then back on the VHS tape, Mama Milch says the kids already asked that. So the grandbabies, they're all like, the oldest one, I want to say, how old is the oldest one, Mama? I want to say 9. I don't know. I remember the time that I dropped my daughter off when she's now 20 something, but she was like 13, 14, 15, something like that. And I dropped her off at the mall, and she was like, I was like, if you need me to come get you earlier, call me. And she's like, how am I supposed to do that? That phone machine? Like the next 5 minutes, I just sat there at the curb like, okay.
Right.
It's fine.
She called it a phone machine.
Catherine, do you remember what inspired the story? The way, you wrote Josh's mom, you wrote this beautiful relationship with them from the beginning. I mean, originally she worked in a diner and all that stuff, but it was the same relationship. Do you remember where that came from?
I think it basically came from her being a single mom to start with, but also I remember one thing my mother told me, and it was about when I was teaching piano, and I don't remember, there was I guess it was like 2008 when there was the housing crisis, and I was thinking, oh, people aren't going to afford piano lessons. And my mother said, she said, no, people always put their kids first. And like the piano lessons will be like one of the last things they'll give up. So I thought, oh, and it's true, because like you do as a mom, you always do that. So I just saw Josh's mom as being like wanting the best for Josh, so that's where it came from. And so she had to work hard, but yeah.
Love it. And it's truly like we went through so many iterations. I don't even know, Lyn, if you know, like we started with her in the diner, and then we were like, we can't afford a diner.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it was like, what if she works, at home somehow? And that's where the home nurse thing came in.
Right.
Yeah.
And then of course, originally Josh was written more of kind of like an emo, like white kid, I think. That's how we originally saw him. And then we found Eric, who was just outstanding.
Right.
So then we were auditioning for Josh's mom, and we got down to like 2 women, and everybody else was like, they kept thinking it was this other person. And I was like, no, I'm telling you guys, it's Lyn. I'm telling you guys. And then when they all saw you on set and they saw the scene, everybody was like, oh my God, you're right. I'm like, I know. I know.
Yay.
One thing I'm like, I will brag about is I'm good at spotting like the right person for a role. I just
I like their relationship too, because it reminded me of the relationship with my son, right? Like it wasn't so like I'm the grown up kind of vibe, right? It definitely had, like, because I'm a single mom too, it sort of had that, like, that guy's also your best friend in a way. And playful, as you had told me. I was like so happy to actually get those notes, like, oh, yay. this is more like the kind of mom I am, which you don't really see that much, right? People are usually, so mommy-ish, in a really like, grown up way. And I just appreciate that it was a different take, which is actually, I think, more common than
Yeah.
a lot of times we show. So
I agree. I think a lot of times people make relationships. I think especially when it comes to like Black families, they tend to make them way dramatic.
right,
And I'm like, there's so much more love in those families than we often see.
right.
And I also love though that even though we had the playfulness, you still were like, watch your tone. Like,
Right. You do that when you need to, just
I also like the depth between you and your ex-husband and him coming back. And I mean, that adds, because you're open to it, but I like that.
I love that too. I mean, because it's not always cut and dry, right?
Right.
And it does matter, like, he's your like, there's all those conflicting emotions, and and I'm a feeling multi, experiential person. So, I appreciate that was not, again, the normal, animosity that we often see, or, whatever. And an openness to like, okay, I love that about,
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it was also important to us that we didn't write him as just an absentee father, but like he went to follow a dream, what he thought was moving his heart.
Yeah.
And that, I think, leaves it almost okay as the woman to be like, well, I can't hate him. He was following his heart. He was following his love,
Right. Yeah.
You remember when we were on set, we were like literally filming your scenes and we still didn't have a dad for Josh because we were trying to lock in a name. And I remember like, I knew who we were going after. And I was like, I can't tell you guys because it might not happen. I can't tell you. But when we landed Kadeem, it all made more sense. Because how could you not love Kadeem when he showed up?
No, I mean, that's amazing. I mean, talk about somebody growing up watching him. I mean, like it was just so cool. Like, I'd never met him before. I'd actually been on the Different World set, but I think I was like, an extra or something, long ago. And, it was kind of cool to like, oh, we grew up together.
Yeah.
What is one of your, so I would love to hear a story from one of my favorite shows. So maybe Fresh Prince of Bel Air. Do you have a story from way back? Can you even remember? Gosh, you've done so many shows since then.
Right. Well, I mean, there's no crazy story. I just know that was an amazing set to work. Right. Like they were very friendly and, like Will Smith, super welcoming. That episode, Regis Philbin worked and Regis acted like we were best friends, and that, I think that's a gift of Regis. And he was cracking jokes and he'd be like, Lyn, what are you doing? Like, just totally messing with me. And I loved how on that set too, like before we shot before we shot the live, everybody's in the dressing room and Will's doing like a little prayer and a pep talk. Like he was the president of the set. Aww. And I appreciate that as someone who's worked on a lot of shows. Like you go on some shows and they're just kind of like, nobody's really talking to you.
Yeah.
You kind of got to figure out what to do and where to go. But certain sets, people like take on, like they introduce themselves, they make you feel warm and welcome the whole time you're there, and they include you, and they really make it a community, and it's not a given, so that was I think one of the beautiful things, and I think that's like the first Black show I ever worked.
That's awesome. That's such a great experience. Especially I love hearing those stories about really huge celebrities because you go, that's why he is where he is.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, I would say too, even like George Clooney, president of the set, man, whenever he was there, I mean, like the second time I ever worked on the show, he remembered my name and he introduced me to Steven Spielberg. Like it was just so, and I'm like petrified. I'm like standing there with Steven Spielberg and George Clooney and we're having a conversation. I don't think I talked, but George, like, he was just so like cool. And he did that with everybody that came. He was just like, welcome to my house,
Aww, I love it.
Yeah.
They're such great stories. Yeah. But I'm ready for you to have your own show. This is getting ridiculous.
Yeah, whatever. If it happens, it happens. I am writing though a lot. So we'll see what happens with that. I got a literary manager now and been writing stuff that, includes me or doesn't. Like it's okay because there's so much amazingness to writing. There's so much, creativity and seeing it from beginning to end that is so, it works.
I love it. And I think it's smart because there's definitely one of the best ways to get yourself in is to write a show that just it needs you.
Right.
You know?
Right.
You always have that one. You're like, you can have any of these, but this one is mine.
Right. And the thing is though, as someone who has pitched a couple of the shows, there's always the younger you, and it's just like, oh man.
No. Well, even when I was supposed to work on a project recently, and they had like this whole young band thing, and I'm like, that's great, but let's also have like a 40-year-old woman, and even better if she's African American, and like let's mix genres of music. And we didn't see eye to eye on it, so I didn't. We just ended up not working on it. Not a big deal. It happens. But I think that that's something that we have to be pushing, is making sure that we see ourselves represented. Not everybody's 18 or 80,
Right. No, I know it's weird. But I do think it's changing. And in fact, one of the projects I'm working on is exactly that, with women. And it's funny because I think part of what, even though they're goofy or terrible, part of what those Real Housewives shows have shown you is that, first of all, there's an audience for people watching women over 40, right? And women over 40 have lots of antics and into 50, there's a lot going on, and it's a whole new level of stuff. And I think people really do want to see it and stop being, tricked into this, like, we want to only see 18 to 32. That's just crazy. And not that interesting.
I agree. I actually am a big fan of, I watch almost every young adult show there is, and I love them.
Right.
But my favorite shows are like Grey's Anatomy is still like, if it's in my queue, it's still the first show I watch when I go down.
Right. Or mine is Better Things. I love Better Things. Do
you have like a darker sense of humor?
Oh, what? Say that again?
You have like a darker sense of humor?
Yes, I have a darker, more raw sense of humor for sure. Yeah. I
know Catherine's also writing a TV show now that's very music driven. So
sweet.
One way or another, we're going to break through the TV door that they seem to not want to let us in.
Yeah. I mean, to me, this would be such a great TV show,
Oh, I agree. I wanted to give you a shout out for what you were saying about women over 40 and when people need to watch it. She's like, hello.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous, but
we have actually reached our end of our show time. But oh my gosh, this was so fun. I'm glad we got to have this catch up with you.
Yes, yeah.
And I also love that we've rewatched that scene, so now I can try to push it back in.
I'm so glad I got to see it. I mean, and I'll say that the scene is lit amazingly. Like I rarely look that glowing. Like you really, you freaking glowed the heck out of me.
Well, we talk about a lot. Me and my daughter talk about a lot is the difference. One of the biggest differences about male and female directors, besides the female directors will always go. It's like male directors want to go for how things look on the outside, and they'll make you look like sexy.
Right.
But women directors want everybody to look their best. So you're seeing the inside best, you're seeing the outside best.
Right.
It's not about being sexy. It's about like, how can we make you the best you can be?
Right. Make you connect. And that's what you nailed it. So
love it.
I'm so excited about this.
Thank you, Catherine, for joining us last minute.
I'm so excited, and congratulations everybody on getting there, baby.
We're getting there. One small indie footstep at a time. And thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you. Good to see you guys.
And for everybody else watching, please go to playingwithbeethoven.com and sign up for our little newsletter, because the only thing we're going to send you is, hey, here's the movie. Buy it. You guys rock. We will see you later.
Bye.